What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to From The Bench Vols. I'm your host, Will Meadows, and welcome to our Friday edition where we have a lot to talk about. We've got, obviously, the craziness that's happened with our football team, not even going to mention his name, but who could be that next guy for this Tennessee, who could lead the charge for this Tennessee offense next year, and like I said on our interview that's soon to come, just before I started recording, five-star top five player in the country, Nate Ament, has received a crystal ball to commit to the University of Tennessee. They're in a great spot for some other recruits, and we're going to talk about that. We have a special guest joining the show today, Eric Cain, host of Locked On Vols, and I know I said it 100 times on there, but make sure you guys go check out his show as well, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. But before we get into our interview, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, like this video, and leave a comment of who you want to be the next quarterback for the Tennessee Volunteers. So let's just get right into it, man. The Vols are in a great spot for Nate Ament. The Vols are in a great spot for who knows who at that quarterback position. There's just so much going on in this Tennessee athletics world. I feel like we've kind of just gotten off track with the basketball transfer portal, and rightfully so. There's just been an absolute just massacre, some chaos go on with this football program, but we're going to talk about who we think could be that next guy, some realistic expectations in this interview with Eric, and we're also just going to talk about, like I said, we've gotten off track and haven't really been paying attention the last week to the basketball transfer portal. Some guys at the D2 level, D1 level, some former teammates of some already transfers, and we're going to talk about it. Rick Barnes and Josh Heupel are trying to find some key guys for next year's team. But without further ado, let's welcome Eric Cain to the show. And everybody, welcome host of Locked On Vols, Eric Cain. Thank you for coming on the show. What's up, man?
Hey, Will. Glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me on.
We've had him on the show multiple times. Again, if you haven't, make sure you guys go tune into his show. It's an On3 podcast called Locked On Vols. Daily uploads. Make sure you guys go check into that. So he talks about it every day. Obviously here, we're just 2 times a week, so we're kind of beating a dead horse for him. But the elephant in the room, obviously Nico's gone. I said that was our last time really talking about Nico by himself on our last episode. But, Eric, there's a lot of speculation. Obviously nobody really knows anything with this next quarterback, but are you okay, like, if the Vols go in-house and if Heupel's fine with a McIntyre or a Jake Merklinger, or who are you thinking maybe if they go out and go get somebody in the transfer portal?
Yeah, I mean, I would not personally be okay. I think Tennessee, well, no matter what, Josh Heupel said this the other day, they're going to go get a portal quarterback because they have to. They only have 2 scholarship guys. But if the starting quarterback is a Merklinger or a McIntyre, I think a starting quarterback needs to come from the portal personally, and that does not mean that Tennessee is going to go out and get somebody that's a sitting Power 4 quarterback somewhere else. I mean that's a tough sell to uproot everything and come in, learn the system, win the locker room, win the job in a couple of months. I think the guy, honestly, I mentioned on tomorrow's show coming up, 2 names that would make a whole lot of sense to me, and this is the kind of quarterback I envision Tennessee getting from the portal, and I could be totally wrong. Okay,
Yeah.
like. Tennessee is a great place right now. They've got a lot of money, so things can change. But a guy like Joe Aguilar, who was at App State, UCLA, if the Nico to UCLA gets finalized, no sense in him staying there. He could jump in the portal. That would make sense. A guy like Steven Jelly from Notre Dame, been there 3 years, was never the starter, got a little bit of action, but a veteran, played in the college football playoff, played meaningful snaps there. I think those 2 names would make kind of more sense. But again, we'll see how it goes. And that's not to say that Jake Merklinger or George McIntyre are bad players. I like George's mobility. I think Jake Merklinger has had a phenomenal spring and he kind of worked on his mechanics. And we were talking about how much improved and how good he looked before Nico darted for the transfer portal. But I do think, you can't coach experience. I get that, but these guys are young and they weren't envisioning being the QB1, heading into the season. So, we'll see. I would much rather have a guy like one of those 2 guys come in, make it a competition, push these guys, and then kind of see what happens.
Well, that's part of it too, just the competition aspect of it. I'm kind of like you. Like, there's obviously maybe some unrealistic expectations out there, like saying that we can go get a guy like Kevin Jennings. Like, why? In my opinion, Kevin Jennings is making a lot of money at SMU. Why would he leave a team that just went to the college football playoffs, where he has the locker room? He won the QB battle last year, beat Preston Stone out, and just flip his life upside down, seriously, and move to Tennessee and have to play for a team that's in the hardest conference. The ACC is very weak, especially with a guy like Cam Ward leaving it. Like, Kevin Jennings is very capable of winning the SEC or the ACC, and he was close to it. I mean, they went to the ACC championship game like that last year, and then you've got guys like Rocco Becht and Avery Johnson, who everybody's saying, even Sam Levitt. Like that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Sam Levitt is not coming to Tennessee. I'll watch me say that, and he'll commit tomorrow, which I
Yeah.
wouldn't be opposed to. But I just feel like, especially on Twitter and everywhere you watch it, or X, whatever it is, people are having some kind of unrealistic expectations. And I'm with you. Like, I don't know if I'd be comfortable with a Merklinger or a McIntyre per se, but just having somebody to come in to make that, like, if they're going to be, one of those two guys is going to be the starter, like, make the competition a little more meaningful, if that makes sense. Just somebody else, because you're right, they do have to get somebody else.
Yeah, they do. And so it's going to be interesting. I mean, at the end of the day right now, I mean, Tennessee is straight up evaluating and they're kind of waiting. I wouldn't say waiting, but they're going to see what this market looks like. Who else is going to jump in the transfer portal? There's back channeling. I mean, there's agents, putting their clients out there saying, "Hey, would you have interest here? Hey, would you have interest here?" A lot of times it's to go back to the school that they're currently at saying, "Hey, Tennessee loves my guy. You better pay up." I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that's
That's the
where we
nature of college
live right
football.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like what's real, what's not? I think Tennessee's going to move quickly on trying to find a quarterback. But I mean, again, time of this recording, the portal opened yesterday. Okay. It's not
Yeah.
going to be like the Flash. But yeah, you said, I mean, so many unrealistic. I've seen so many quarterbacks out there on X the last couple of days. I'm just like, I mean, I wouldn't say no, but I would.
My sources are telling me that a guy like blank, like no, like yeah, like I just don't understand that. I mean, I'm all for thinking Tennessee's the best spot in the country, but got to also be realistic because there's not an official practice till like August 1st, and you're
Yeah.
basically asking somebody to win a locker room in a little over a month. I mean, that's just
And that's
kind
why I
of
said those two guys I just mentioned. Again, I don't know if Tennessee's talking to them at
yeah.
this time. I'm just saying, like those two guys, their situations make
Kind of
all the
line
sense in the
up.
world.
Yeah. Like why would Avery Johnson leave? Like like you're saying, like why would a guy who's perfectly comfortable, has over a year under someone else's system, is comfortably the starter, why would he come here? But
Yeah.
maybe, who knows? Like you said, I wouldn't be opposed to it. So
And someone
obviously,
who's already being compensated well and potentially draft eligible. It just
yeah. Yeah,
makes
it
no
doesn't make
sense.
much sense. But all the talk this week has been about quarterback, and rightfully so. I mean, this situation with Nico is arguably one of the most odd and just weird situations in the history of college football, in my opinion, especially since NIL has been a thing. But we had the spring game this past weekend. We had some guys show out, some Rodarius Jacksons, some Travis Smiths. Whoever this quarterback is next year is going to step into a good roster. You can say that whether it's the best spot in college football, like Tennessee fans want to say it is. It's going to be a good roster. So just kind of piggybacking off of the spring game, who are some guys that can help whoever this next quarterback is?
Yeah, I mean, I completely disagree. I'm not a big Urban Meyer fan. I despise him, actually. I think
Yeah,
he's a
yeah, I
scumbag of
saw
a
what you
human
said.
being, but he's a good coach and he knows what he's talking about. Now, I completely disagree with him saying the other day on his podcast that the reality is Tennessee's screwed. I know where he's coming from and I get
Mhm.
it from an outsider's perspective. But I mean, if you listen to my show, I talk about it every single day. Like you're replacing four stars in the offensive line, but I think they're going to be just fine out there because of the two veteran interior transfers.
Yeah.
I think the defense is going to be fine. Wide receiver, hard to be worse than last year. You lost a stud in Dylan Sampson, but I love the running back, guy, the options there. So I mean, I think Tennessee's roster's in a good spot. So for whoever comes in, they're going to have a lot of pieces to play with and have an opportunity. Again, I'm going to say this on my show tomorrow. I don't know what time you're releasing this. I'm sorry,
Yeah, no, you're good.
but at minimum, like you could have made the case last year. And again, like I mean, I'm a big Nico believer in terms of his hype. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. I had his back numerous times last year, but also you look at the stats. I mean, you could argue that Nico was a game manager last year. I think
Yeah.
it's more of young quarterback, great run game, great defense, lean into that. I think it's more of that, but numbers wise, you could make the argument that Nico was a game manager. So at minimum, you bring in a game manager, minimum, you have a chance to win 9, 10 games based on what happened last year. But we'll have to see how it all plays out. But I think Deshaun Bishop and Peyton Lewis are going to be really good. They both had good springs. I think Lewis really came on there towards the end. Braylon Staley in the slot, I think, is going to be a really nice piece in this offense. Redshirted last year, got a little taste there towards the end. Where Darius Jackson probably had the best spring of any wide receiver. Um, he's got like him and Travis Smith, no matter what. I mean, they're going to have to play a little bit because of the
Yeah.
numbers right now. But, Jackson was overshadowed by Smith, came in, went to work, made a ton of plays, balled out in the orange and white game. I think he looked really good. And, Jack Van Dorselaer caught 3 touchdowns in the
Yeah,
orange and white game. I would caution stuff there. I mean, he's in line to play some meaningful snaps, in my opinion, because Miles Kitzelman, depending on when he comes back from his
yeah.
injury, but I thought he had a good spring game as well. So it's kind of hard to tell, who did what in the orange and white glorified practice, but those are some guys who had a really good spring overall.
Yeah, and if you watch this show, every episode, you guys know I'm a big Mike Matthews guy. I'm very excited. He looked good in the limited snaps that he played in the orange and white game and the one-on-ones in the red zone, but very excited for him and whoever it is that is about to play quarterback. I feel like they do have the pieces around him. Like you said, I was about to bring up the Urban Meyer situation.
Yeah.
Some of the country just kind of thinks that, oh, they're screwed because they're seeing guys like James Pierce about to go first round, and we all know who Dylan Sampson was, and then
Mm-hmm.
nobody knew who Dante Thornton was really outside of Tennessee fans last year, and they see him run a 4.3, and they're like, "Oh, well, he must have been real good." Like, don't get me wrong, Dante Thornton was good and a valuable piece for us last year, but like you said, it really can't get much worse, especially when it comes to getting open than it was last year.
Yeah. So and I get the talk out there. I mean, I get the narrative. Like, I don't follow Oregon on a daily basis.
Hmm.
I know Oregon's quarterback situation. I don't know a thing about Oregon's football team.
Yeah,
I mean, I know about Ohio State because Tennessee just played them, but like I know everything about Tennessee. So like from an outsider's perspective, I get it. It's easy to kind of see all that. Now, I'm not sitting here spinning it saying losing your starting quarterback on April the 12th is a good thing. I'm not saying
yeah,
that whatsoever. But at minimum, get a game manager, make some throws. I think Tennessee will have a good chance to go win a lot of games next year.
yeah.
FanDuel's line came down from 9.5 to 8.5. Depending on who they get, maybe we'll see it move back up.
But yeah, it's that with the transfer portal too. We're obviously looking for a guy, but teams like Oklahoma just seem to have hit a home run in the portal. Obviously with John Mateer, and then they get a guy like Jaden Ott the second he enters the portal. So gotta think there was somewhat of tampering there. Not gonna point any fingers or accuse anybody of anything, but the SEC's reloading like it's nothing. And they're also reloading in basketball. It seems like that was the talk of the town, talking about Jacoby Gillespie and some other guys that Rick needs to get. Obviously, we have this bomb dropped on us the day before spring practice, 2 days before
Yeah.
spring practice. But I want to talk a little bit about basketball. 5 minutes before we started recording, Nate Ament got his crystal ball, top five player in the country, just to put it bluntly, a bucket getter. I mean, I don't know how much of a defender he's going to be on Rick Barnes' standards, especially compared to what we had last year. But get the ball to him and go get a bucket. He's going to be up there with what we've had in the past. At least you see that now. I mean, he won't. I always point up to this guy right here, Connect. He may not live up to that, but it's just you got to be excited for that. Obviously, his teammate recently signed a few weeks ago in Troy Henderson. But then also guys like Rodney Rice, like who are some guys or just some names in general that you think Rick Barnes needs to go get or have a good chance to go get?
Yeah, I mean, from a content creative perspective, I mean, basketball, honestly, unless it's March Madness, really doesn't move the needle. But basketball transfer portal was hitting, and I mean,
Yeah.
they were good shows, man. And
That's
then
what I'm saying. Yeah, and then it just like boom, it's
yeah,
gone.
the
Like no
bomb
one's talking
dropped,
about
and then you get Nico coverage, and numbers have been fantastic. But
it. Yeah.
no, I mean, I love Rick Barnes's mentality. When so many of his peers and so many great coaches are calling it quits early or being pushed into retirement because they don't want to embrace this era. And I don't think Rick Barnes loves NIL, but he's embraced it. He's embraced the transfer portal. And I truly think that he loves this time of the year where he's trying to assemble his roster. He's against the clock here, but you're cramming in 3 to 4 years of recruiting into 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think he enjoys that. So Jacoby Gillespie made all the sense in the world. East Tennessee guy, went to Belmont, went to Maryland, got the experience, made too much sense. You got him here. Obviously, Jalen Carey, SEC experience, kind of got that little edge about him, but also gives you a presence inside. He's not going to average 20 points a game, but he does give you a scoring presence inside that Tennessee hasn't had in quite some time, down in the low post.
Yeah.
So that's great. Rodney Rice, I think he wants to play with Jacoby Gillespie. I think if it's up to those two guys, that's what's going to happen. Villanova, USC, others are kind of starting to join this race a little bit. We'll see what happens there. Again, I think if it's up to him and him alone, it would be Tennessee, but that doesn't, always happen nowadays. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. Elijah Freeman's a name to pay
That's what
attention
I was about to. Yeah.
Lincoln Memorial played some games in Holt Fieldhouse this year down there in Jefferson City against
Yeah.
Carson Newman. That's where I went to high school, or that's
Yeah.
where I went to
College.
college.
It's
Interesting
good.
prospect. Yeah, he's really good. Like, how in the world do you end up in Harrogate, Tennessee? I have no clue. But length, athleticism, and I mean, he balled out in his 1 year at LMU, and now Tennessee, Auburn, Kentucky. I
Florida.
mean, yeah, that's awesome. But he was here for a visit. I think he likes it a lot, and I think Tennessee likes him. So that's one to pay attention to. And then that brings me to Nate Ament. That one for so long. I mean, Tennessee was in there. Tennessee was competitive, name, image, and likeness, and everything involved. But it was like it was always the Arkansas, Louisville, Duke,
The one and
Kentucky a
done
little bit.
areas that's known for,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, Arkansas with Cal, yeah. And so it was always like Tennessee was just not even in the conversation, it felt like. But that's changed. I mean, they were in the conversation, but they weren't like a real contender.
Yeah.
That's changed in the last couple of weeks, man. I mean, Rick Barnes went up and saw him earlier this week. Rick Barnes wants him. He is putting the full court press on him. That is one that Rick Barnes wants. I don't cover basketball on a daily basis, so I'm not going to act like I've covered a lot of his recruitments, but it just feels like he wants this one more than
Yeah,
he might have
seriously.
wanted.
Because it's like you're saying, you're squeezing it all into
Mhm.
3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. And so if he's able to land this one, sky's the limit. He'll be here for 1 year. Like you said, defensively, he will never live up to what Rick Barnes wants him to. But you're getting a bucket getter, as you said, an athletic guy that's got versatility into his game. That would be a massive, massive get. So we'll see how all this settles. Tennessee again before all this Nico drama happened. An incredible start to the transfer portal with the two kids. Was sitting in the driver's seat with Rodney Rice. We'll see if that one finishes, but Nate Ament's come on strong here. Feels like they're in a good spot for Elijah Freeman. A lot of good options out there for Tennessee, and I'm sure there'll be some names that might circulate here in the next couple of days as well.
Yeah, I was just about to say something about Elijah Freeman, but before I kind of talk about him, Nate Ament, I do know, like I don't know the guy personally, but just because of the level of basketball that I kind of played at the high school level, like I know a few guys that played with Nate Ament and
Yeah,
know him like personally, and they say that dude like he lives in the gym, like they've never walked into a gym for a practice and Nate Ament was not the first one there. And they say like he is genuinely one of the nicest and this is not them gassing him up. Like this is just their genuine
yeah.
reaction about him. Because I was at physical therapy with somebody who had played with him the year before, and they like he doesn't cuss. Like his family is great people, so I more than see why that's a guy that Rick Barnes would love to have. But like I said, I was about to bring something up about Elijah Freeman. I know Florida's also in that recruitment as well. Long, athletic, like you said. He's from Florida originally, so kind of keeping a guy who's in Tennessee. But I've talked about it a little bit on this show. Like the defense is great. There's no doubt about it. Defense wins championships, but we haven't seen even a Final Four yet. You kind of got to wonder if you've got to go find guys that you want the defense. There's no doubt about it, but you can kind of teach defense. You can teach grit. Um, you can teach people to slide their feet because if they're at this level, they're athletic enough to slide their feet. We've seen guys like Vescovi who came here not as the best defender, and Rick Barnes turned him into an
Hmm.
incredible on-ball defender and getting in passing lanes and everything like that. You got to go find somebody that's going to get buckets because, as we saw in the Houston game, it seemed like Jordan Gainey was the only person who was able to put it in the hole. Like you got to have somebody else to go just hit a three or give him the ball and get out the way. I just feel like we've lacked that. Obviously, we had Connect. He was a little different animal. Chaz Lanier is great. Zakai Siegler is great. But Chaz Lanier was not really a guy you'd be like, all right, Chaz, go get you a bucket.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he could get downhill, but it seemed like he didn't want to half the time, which was kind of weird. He was a very east to west ball handler instead of north and south. He kind of got better at it as the year went on. But
He
I
did.
think, go ahead.
I was gonna say he did as the year went along. It felt like he was, driving to the hoop a little bit more. But early on, I mean, he just wouldn't.
He was just sitting there crossing you over at the 3 point line, waiting for you
Yeah.
to just mess up. But yes, like you said, I mean, he did get better as the year went on. But I do feel like those are guys. Obviously, Nate Ament speaks for itself. But even a D2 guy, like he may not be the big name because obviously he's at the D2 level. But that's a guy who shot nearly 50% from three. Yes, at the
Mhm.
D2 level, but that's just filling it up, man. I promise you, like Jemai Mashak would not shoot 50% at the 3 point line at the D2. It doesn't matter if he was playing at Central High School. But they've got to just go find. He's one that intrigues me so much because I just feel like he would fit in this system, and Rick Barnes could get some defense out of him.
Yeah, I mean, young guy too. 3 years left, I guess. But I
Yeah,
mean, in this day and age, who knows how long you're
that
actually going
could
to
be
be in a
five.
school.
Yeah,
But it feels like there needs to be a balance there. Like I think it's a nice flex. I think it's a nice brag to say that your number one Ken Palm defense and all that. And I think that's huge. But again, there's a lot of theories out there. You're exerting so much you're exerting so much effort into your defense, which is not a bad thing, that you're kind of slacking on the offensive end. Tennessee's top 5 all the time in Ken Palm defense, whereas top 30-ish, top 20-ish on a good year. And I don't know where Tennessee finished this year, but in terms of offense, got to be some balance in there, because you go back to last year, you mentioned Chaz. Zakai was not a finisher. He would take it, but he couldn't finish because, again, no disrespect to him, he's 5'7", 5'8", right? I want him on my team, but he doesn't finish at the rim very well. Jordan Gainey was like the only finisher last year for Tennessee, and then of course last year you had Dalton and all that 2 years ago. So yeah, I mean, I think that it would be fantastic to get those types of players, and Ament is certainly one of those guys, and Freeman, as he evolves in his basketball career, there would be, say he does come to Tennessee, there would be an adjustment period, obviously, no matter where he goes, because he was going up against guys in the South Atlantic Conference. Now he'll be going up against guys in the Southeastern Conference, one D1, the other D2. But I like this group, and I think that Rick Barnes is assembling a group of winners. I love the edge that Jalen Carey plays with. He got on Tennessee's nerves when he played against Tennessee,
especially at home.
Yeah, it's one of those guys where you love it when he's on your team. You hate it when he's on the other. So I'll be intrigued to see kind of how all this finalized, but it certainly feels good right now about Nate Ament. I mean, I don't cover college basketball, but it feels like Tennessee is doing very well this week with him.
Especially with a crystal ball kind of out of nowhere. Not out of nowhere, because like you said, they've been emerging as of the weeks, but just to have one like that. And then I don't know if I mentioned it. I know I mentioned Troy Henderson, but his former teammates in the comments talk about let's go. So it's got to feel like you're in a good spot. But got to feel like you're in a good spot in football as well, like we said. Just an awkward spot, but it kind of just feels like you're going to be all right. But there's a lot to talk about with Tennessee athletics. I really do appreciate you for coming on the show. Again, if you guys have not already, make sure you go check out his podcast, Locked On Vols, anywhere you listen to it. I need to start saying that for me. I need to find out how to get this on Spotify, but YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you guys listen to podcasts or watch them, make sure you guys go check out his episode. Thank you for coming on, man.
Well, as always, buddy, thanks so much, man.
Once again, thank you, Eric Cain, for coming on the show. Like I said, for the last time, make sure you guys go subscribe to his channel, Locked On Vols, an On3 podcast, or listen to it wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you like to listen to those. And again, thank you guys for watching my podcast. There's so much going on with Tennessee athletics right now, but like I said, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and leave a comment. One, now that how do you feel about the whole Nate Ament news? And like I said earlier, let me know who you guys want to be this next quarterback for the Tennessee Volunteers, because like we talked about on our interview, so many unrealistic expectations, but can always shoot for the stars, right? I'm not going to complain about getting a guy like Avery Johnson from Kansas State, because those legs and our offense would be ridiculous. But like I said, thank you guys for watching this show. I'll see you guys next week, and go Vols.